My name is Pernell Sweat. I'm Associate Superintendent of Robertson County Schools. I'm a Lumbee Indian. I have with me Ms. Pauline Bullard Locklear, who is on the staff of Pembroke State University. We would like to talk a little bit about the history of Pembroke State University for the simple reason that the history of the Lumbee Indians is tied and is an integral part of the history of the university. The university started in 1887, but let me back up about 50 years and give you a little brief period of history here. In the year of 1835, the state passed a law in which was classified as a disenfranchised, which forced the Indian people of that community, the Lumbees today, from attending public schools. And we had a period of 50 years in which our forefathers were not able to attend public schools, but were able to either, those who could afford it, bring private tutors into their home or send them off to college or no education at all. In 1887, we have the beginning of Pembroke State University, which is part of the state university system today, one of 16 campuses. Of that campus, the chancellor is a Lumbee Indian, and the dean of student affairs, as well as many of the other top officials. Ms. Locklear here works on the staff of the university, and she's involved in a particular project that I would like for her to share with you in regards to the history of Lumbee and also how it integrates with other aspects of the American Native population.
I'm director of the Native American Resource Center, which was founded 2 years ago in Pembroke State University. This is a room that was set aside for the purpose of collecting artifacts, handicrafts, books, records, and cassettes, all pertaining to the Indians of the United States, with a special emphasis on the Lumbee Indian. I have quite a collection of artifacts from the Lumbee Indian, and on my staff I have a secretary and also 2 part-time workers.
Pauline, in that collection there, are you been able to preserve or find quite a few artifacts or historical documents that ties in the span of time of the Lumbee Indians?
I have all the documents that have been written about us, as far as I know, according to Chapel Hill and Duke. I was able to get them, and I have some dating back to the late 1700s and early 1800s.
And those documents attest to the fact that the Lumbees were there. It describes some of the activities which they were engaged in, and some of the things that indicate that Lumbees just didn't arrive on the scene.
No, I've read history back in the early 1700s, when we were first found by the Scott Arsh, the Indians living on the banks of Lumber River in Robertson County. And it told that we had the English culture. We had houses, we lived in houses, we dressed, we had the language, and we also had the religion.
Would you like to expound on the theory of the lost colony?
That is the strongest theory of the Lumbee Indians. John White's lost colony. John White brought a colony over from England, and he left it on the island Croatan. And he was gone for 3 years, and when he returned back from England, there could be no trace found of his colony. And he had told them if they got in trouble to write and put an X across on a post. And all he found was the word Croatan, but he did not find any cross. So this is our strongest theory. Although we have 3 more theories, where you have a theory that we're part Tuscarora, also Eastern Sioux, according to the arrowheads that was found, the stone tool collection that's found in Robertson County, and also from the Cherokee, because when the Cherokee came down to help fight the Tuscarora War, they think part of the Cherokee stayed here or part of the Lumbees went back with them.
Are there any things that tie in strong with the John White lost colony? For example, a lot of the names today that you find among the Lumbees are the names that was found on the slate of John White's crew that came over, or his people he brought over.
Yes, that's the reason that is our strongest theory, because of the surnames that the lost colony had. Quite a few of these surnames are still in existence among the Lumbee, and like our folklore hero, Henry Bird. Henry Bird was the name on John White's colony.
So you can see, as I said, the beginning of Pembroke State University, which has been the lifeblood from an education standpoint of the Lumbees. Lumbees, being in North Carolina and a southern state, did not have the opportunity to attend public schools that was attended by the whites. They refused to attend schools with blacks. So with the coming of Pembroke State University, education became very paramount in the minds of the Lumbees in terms of being able to see education as a means of being able to provide better opportunities for the Indian people, a means of being able to provide economic developments, a means of being able to bring them from the realms of the disparity that existed. And with the growth of Pembroke State University, and with a vast number of the Lumbees being able to leave complete high school and be able to have a college which was in the community to attend to, it's provided us in our area there with a vast number of Indian people who have college degrees, teach in public schools, or involved in other professions. In fact, Pembroke State University, as it's called today, which had several names in its history of time, was the first four-year institution for Indian people in the country. Of course, with the coming of the Supreme Court decision of 1954, then the Board of Trustees opened up the doors to non-Indians, and of course the campus today is composed of Indians and non-Indians. Pauline, I believe that gives us a brief history of the university there and how it ties in with the Lumbees. Let us move on to some other subject now. Cut.
Board member of the Lumbee Regional Development Association. I currently serving as executive. We roll?
Yeah, you can
go. I'm Bruce Jones, board member of the Lumbee Regional Development Association, located in Pembroke, North Carolina. I am currently serving as the executive director of the North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs. Ken, LRDA has come a long ways since its early days, and I have the executive director, Kenneth Maynor, of the Lumbee Regional Development Association.
Right, Bruce. We've established at the present 5 projects, and we have the 6th one that's to be funded October 1. Our biggest projects is our Comprehensive Employment Training Act, CETA, which we serve 4 counties. As you know, the Indian Commission serves all counties except Region N, Robeson, Bladen, Hoke, and Scotland. So we serve those Region N. The components of CETA is work experience, classroom training, older adult, OJT, on-the-job training, public service employment. This is benefits to Robeson County and the other counties greatly because of the unemployment. It's been one of the assets that's made LRDA grow. Our other component, our other project, is economic development, in which we stress working with community neighborhood service centers. We're presently working with 12 senior citizens group covering Robeson County. We also offer small business loans through the North Carolina National Bank in Charlotte, packaging loans. Indian Education Project is Title IV Part B, in which we operate 3 Longhouse Learning Centers, which has 90 kids. These are half-day. We also work with the school system and our Native American curriculum. Our Talent Search Project is our educational project, which works with some 13 high schools, and also we work with the counselor in the high school to provide financial aid to underprivileged Indian kids who otherwise would not get this one-on-one working relationship. And also we have home visitations, which help out in working with kids where you cannot work with them at school. Our 5th project, Community Food and Nutrition Project, works with the elderly, planning meals, showing them how to get the best money, most money out of their food stamps, their Medicare. We also provide classes in cooking. We also provide food vouchers for those who are in need, who have applied for food stamps and has not received any assistance. Our sixth project is our Reading Academy, Right to Read. We will be working with 3 reading academies in Robeson County, which will probably be working with about 90 adult education illiterate Indian people. We hope that this will benefit Robeson County greatly. We hope that this will be joined in with Robeson Tech and will eventually be absorbed by Robeson Tech and will benefit the people greatly.
Can you imagine the Lumbees without LRDA?
Bruce, I don't imagine it without LRDA. I think it's been an asset to the Indian people, to the community, not only in the components and the projects, but in the working relationship with the community. I have to add that we keep the Indian atmosphere going year-round, especially with Lumbee Homecoming, which is an annual sponsored event by Lumbee Regional Development Association.
So then, in 1969, when a small group of Lumbees got together and decided that they wanted to form an organization, and they chartered this private nonprofit corporation, which is controlled by an all-Indian board.
You might want to add, Bruce, that this board is elected, just like your tribal council. They're elected by the people.
And how did this come about, Ken?
Well, at one time, the board would re-elect themselves or reappoint individuals. But to ease our funding efforts, to be able to qualify for other programs, we had to change our structure of the elected process, and in which the people had their input in who would serve them. So every year we have so many board members coming off, and the people the nominees are nominated and elected upon approval of the board. So this gives the people a voice in what LRDA is doing. Where in the past, LRDA and the community were sort of separated. But now the people are interested. They want to share in LRDA and work with LRDA, and I feel like this is the best way, the elected process.
But since the Lumbees do not have a tribal council, this organization would be a close parallel to a tribal council organization, wouldn't you think, Ken?
Yes, Bruce, this is in responses to other organizations. LRDA is known in the community as the Indian leadership, as far as a spokesman for LRDA for the Lumbees and the community.
Well, Ken, I'm really glad to learn of these things that you're doing now, because we got a grant from the National Congress of American Indians for $5,000 in '69 to kick this off, and $5,000 to do an adult outreach program has really mushroomed into what would you say your funding level is now?
Approximately $3 million.
Well,
annually.
That has been great. And as a result of the effort that the Lumbees put forth, they also became involved in the creation of the North Carolina Commission on Indian Affairs. Governor Scott in 1970 asked a member of his staff to make a review of all of the Indian commissions nationwide. And after this review was made, he called a delegation of representatives from the Cherokees, the Hollowas, the Coharies, the Waccamaw Siouans, and the Lumbees together in Raleigh to draft enabling legislation to create the commission. And in 1971, the General Assembly enacted this body, which has 3 elected representatives from each tribe, 3 from the Coharie, 3 from the Lumbee, 3 from the Waccamaw Siouan, and 3 from the Hollowa. because of the federal trust structure with the Cherokee, they chose not to become voting members of the commission, but we've worked very close with the Cherokees. As Ken has indicated, he has a CETA project, and at the commission we have a prime sponsorship for a CETA project that covers the areas not covered by the Lumbees and not covered by the Cherokees. We also have a talent search project, as Ken has indicated, with the Lumbees, which serve outside of his geographical area for the other Indians of the state. We have a HUD project, which is a Section 8 rent supplement project that we provide rent subsidy to low-income Indian families. Of course, this project is not just limited to Indians. It can be to all races, but we are trying to help as many low-income Indian families with this program as we possibly can. We have also community developers that are working in each of the communities to try to develop the leadership and organizational structure whereby they can mobilize local resources to meet some of their local needs. These are some of the things that the North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs is doing in North Carolina, and we hope through the effort of working with the other tribes in North Carolina, we can use the model that Ken has talked about, the Lumbees, in developing other tribes as well. Okay.
Ken, you and Bruce were just discussing about Lumbee Regional Development Association and the North Carolina Commission on Indian Affairs. Where is LRDA located at?
LRDA is located in Pembroke, North Carolina. Pembroke is sort of the Indian capital of the Lumbees. It has a town mayor which is Indian, a town council which is Indian, and this has only been recently. In the past, there was a majority of Indians, but the SWAT structure ruled the town. Today it's changed, just like in all the areas. The Indians are to be heard, their numbers are speaking at the polls.
Ken, in Pembroke, which is you've indicated that it's basically the Lumbee capital, do we have Indian ownership there, a business, or anything of that nature?
90% of the businesses in Pembroke are Lumbee owned, and I would say 99% of the farmland in and around Pembroke are Indian owned.
You mentioned farmland. What are the diversity type jobs that the Lumbee is involved in?
Well, you know, in the past, the Lumbee, could only do one thing, and that's work with his hands. He was a farmer, and he's noted to be a good farmer even today. With all the mechanized tools and all, he's still a top-notch farmer in raising tobacco, corn, beans, cotton, and this sort. So we pride ourselves, and we never want to leave our heritage as working with our hands and tilling the soil.
What are some of the type of businesses, be specific, that are owned by Lumbees?
I think one of the most most recently that we can pride ourselves in is the Lumbee Bank, which is Indian owned. The board of directors are Lumbee Indians, and I think this is the pride and the central focus of the Lumbees is the Lumbee Bank, which is centered in Pembroke.
In fact, if I recall, the Lumbee Bank was the first Indian bank in the country. It was established before the American Indian National Bank in Washington. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Ken, as we look at Pembroke and the greater Pembroke area there, you indicated that they were involved in many types of industry or ownership. I would like to ask another question here. Do we have Indian-owned manufacturers?
Yes, we have several. One of the latest is University Sportswear, owned and operated by a local Lumbee. We also have Indian Made. We have many fabric shops and many hardwares and businesses that are Indian owned. In addition to this, I think we want to highlight ourselves with what has happened recently. We have an outdoor drama, Strike at the Wind, the history of the Lumbee people. And we hope that this can be seen far and wide. We've reached beyond our expectations this year, and probably reaching some 17,000 people who did not know about the Lumbees and Henry Berry Lyre during the Civil War era.
In fact, not only of the success of the outdoor drama, I believe I recall reading one of the critics in one of these leading state newspapers who came down for a visitation and had also visited several others across the state, and indicated it was probably the greatest performance put on during the year of the bicentennial, that it had just a tremendous cast of people. And by the way, if I understand it correctly, the cast, if I remember reading the list of cast, and most of them are local people.
Local people.
Which exemplifies one of the things that I've observed in the public schools, is that we've had a project for a couple of years, and our Native American students are just overwhelmed, or not overwhelmed, but have an overabundance of talent and the creativities of the arts and things of this nature that it was exemplified in this drama.
Right. The leading roles are played by Lumbees, which were non-professional, but we want to feel like they're professionals now after the first season. We also would like to let you know that this drama was raised by funds by the local people, white, black, and Indian. And it shows it into play where it may rub you a little bit, and then it'll soothe you a little bit, but it shows the side of all three races in Strike at the Wind. It brings the races close together, but again, it shows reality of what we've had to confront to get where we are today. I wouldn't want to miss one thing when you're talking about our Indian businesses and our farmers. When we tie them in together, we have the first Indian-owned warehouse, Lumbee Warehouse, located in Lumberton, regretfully, but this is something new that's came about. We hope to have many more Indian-owned warehouses. This is the tobacco warehouses where our farmers can get the right price and talk to the right people, and this would be your Indian owners.
Ken, I think as we look at Robinson County, where the Lumbees are located, that is the majority of them, however, they're located in several other counties, that Robinson County has a population of about 99,000 thereabouts, and the total population is just about equally divided among the three races. Is that correct?
Right, 1/3 each. But this creates a problem when most of your Indian people are rural. They attend the county schools. The city schools are predominantly black and white. So we still have our reservation, so to speak. Our Indian schools are still 99% Indian, although they're integrated to some extent.
Okay, thank you, Ken, for sharing with us the history of the Lumbee Regional Development Association, also how it, where it's housed at, the relationship of it, of the town and the community, and we thank you for your remarks.
Thank you, Mr.
We have with us Mr. Earl Hughes Oxendine, a Lumbee, who is on the State Board of Education. And I think that one of the things I want to explore here, or to talk with you about, is the leadership roles that we find many of the Lumbees in today. And I think that we can go back and probably attribute that to the fact that, as Mr. Jones indicated earlier, that many of the Lumbees and Mr. Maynard brought the fact that they're farmers, but also we might bring out the fact that some were sharecroppers or tenant farmers, but many of the Lumbees own their own land individually, and it was passed down from one generation to the next generation. I think Mr. Oxendine here, whom I want to share with us, as we mentioned earlier about Pembroke State University, the role that land played in that situation. Then we'll move into some other questions.
Yes, if you remember the early days of our educational system among the Lumbees, we had to establish our own school system. As a matter of fact, we have an individual, a Lumbee, that donated the tract of land where we had our first school. And you mentioned there that I'm in the field of education. Well, education with me, my roots in education go back quite a bit. I'm the son of, my father was as a retired school teacher, 42 years. As a matter of fact, he had 7 brothers, or 6 brothers and sisters who were teachers. All of them are retired. And they taught among the Lumbees in excess of 240 years. So my roots in education go back quite a ways. At the present time, I am principal of a junior high school in the adjoining county of Hoke. Earlier, I was principal of the All-Indian School in Hoke County. But upon consolidation in the late 60s, at the present time, I'm principal of Upchurch Junior High School, and we only have about 17% of the student enrollment there are Lumbees. And about 50% white and about 35% black. Also, you mentioned about the State Board of Education. I was appointed to this board in North Carolina, North Carolina State Board of Education, in 1973, being the first Indian ever appointed to that board. And we are getting Lumbees involved in education on the state level. As a matter of fact, the executive secretary of the Title IV program for North Carolina is a Lumbee. I think he resigned last week to take another job, but he did serve in that capacity for a year. Also, the assistant director of athletics with the state of North Carolina is a Lumbee. We also had another Lumbee that worked with the Human Relations Department in Raleigh. So we have Lumbees in most key positions on both the state and local level.
Hughes, I think Lumbees have also been involved in education as well as other aspects of the federal government. I believe Commissioner Brantley Blue is on the American Indian Policy Review. American Indian Claims.
Indian Claims Commissioner. Yes, we have Commissioner Blue, who is the first Indian to serve in that capacity, Indian Claims Commission. We have JoJo Hunt, who served in the Policy Review, this new commission. We have Helen Shearback, who is very much involved in education on the federal level. We have W.J. Strickland, Tom Oxendine, who is my brother, who is Director of Communication with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. We have others that I can't think of right now that are involved on the federal level.
Do you have any notion as to why the success of the Lumbees on the local, state, and national level?
Well, we're very much involved in education in the early days. I'd say at the turn of the century. We placed quite a bit of emphasis on education at that time, and all those people that I mentioned earlier, they came through the educational system there in Robeson County. And I'm sure this is one reason that we could be as far advanced as we are, is because of our involvement in education.
Do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share with us, Mr. Oxendine, as you see the future of the Lumbees in terms of from an economic standpoint, educational standpoint, maybe from an education standpoint, since that's your area of concentration, but you might have some things you'd just like to speculate on or share with us here this afternoon?
Well, as I stated earlier there, we place quite a bit of emphasis on education, and we have people that have come through our school system, and almost any area that you can think of, we can find. Well, we have some regional sales managers with various companies located in Atlanta. We have various attorneys that are located in other areas of the United States. We have, I know we have one executive vice president with Shasta Cola. The police commissioner from Indianapolis, Indiana is a Lumbee, came through our educational system. So all of the people that I've named here are a product of our Lumbee school system there in Robeson County.
Earl, I think another thing that should be brought out here is that Pembroke State historically was basically a teacher college for the Lumbees. But however, Pembroke State has broadened its curriculum into many other facets, and from that we see many of our young Lumbee students coming out today moving into law, able to go into business administration, various aspects of medicine. And I think that as Pembroke broadened its curriculum, we're seeing our youth explore and move into other professions.
Well, in the early days, the main purpose or role of Pembroke State University was to train teachers to teach our youngsters.